There's a version of the custom home building process that most people carry around in their head, and it's a version that's mostly wrong. It goes something like this. You find a builder, you pick a plan, you sign a contract, and a year later, you move in. That framing skips over most of the actual work, most of the actual decisions, and most of the actual complexity that determines whether a project ends up being a great experience or a painful one that you wish you never did. So I want to walk through what actually happens from the very beginning of the process to the day the family moves in. Because I think if more people understood how it really works, they'd approach it with clear expectations and make better decisions along the way. So heads up, it's gonna be a longer video than usual. But this is one of those topics where the depth actually matters. So here's what I want to cover. I'm going to walk through the process in the order it actually happens, from the earliest decisions before you even talk to a builder, through pre-construction, through construction, and through closeout. I'm going to explain what happens in each phase, who's doing what decisions you're making, and where things typically go right or wrong. My goal is not to be exhaustive on every technical detail. My goal is to give you the actual shape of the process so that whatever phase you're in, or whichever phase you're about to enter, you understand what's happening and what to pay attention to. So let me start with the earliest phase. I call this the alignment phase, and it's a part that most people underestimate. Before you've hired a builder, before you've hired an architect, before you even really committed to building, there's a lot of work to do that determines whether this project will be successful. That work's figuring out a couple things: what you want, what you can afford, and where you're gonna build. Those three questions are more interrelated than people realize. The house you can afford depends on the land you're buying, which depends on the neighborhood you're targeting, which then depends on your priorities for schools, community, and lifestyle. And the house you want has to be honest to the budget and the lot. If those three things are not aligned before you even engaged a builder, you're gonna spend the first couple months of a project renegotiating your own expectations, which is expensive and demoralizing. Or worse, you're gonna go up to a yes man builder and they're not gonna tell you you're wrong until you get a contract price, and then you're gonna have wasted 8 months. I see it all too often. So this alignment phase should include budget conversations with the lender because you need a real number before you start. It should also include a lot search, maybe not in depth, but it should be a general vicinity or an area. This is where I recommend an agent who knows the market, or if you're really good and you wanna drive around and put in all that legwork, you can do it yourself. But it includes some honest conversations with yourself and your family about what you actually need in a house, at what scale, and for what reasons. Some people do this phase in a few weeks. Some people, it might take a year. There's really no right answer on the timing, but the quality of decisions that you make in this phase shape everything that comes after. Next, let's talk about the pre-construction phase, which is where the project starts to take real shape. This is the phase where you're actually engaging a team. That typically includes a builder, an architect, and often an interior designer. Some builders have architects and designers on staff. Some builders work with independent architects. Some clients even bring their own architect and hire the builder later. There are different models and none of them are inherently better than the other, regardless of what people tell you. You just need to understand which model you're operating in because it can change how the pre-construction phase runs, especially because every builder does it a little bit differently. So I always say try to start with your builders or start with your architect. Your architect can point you to a builder and a designer, or your builder can point you to an architect and a designer, or just an architect if they have a designer, based off what you tell them that you want. That is what separates the good from the great. So during pre-construction, these are things happening in parallel. Your architect's developing the design from the initial concept sketch through the schematic design of construction documents. Every stage of that process involves decisions that affect the house, the budget, and the schedule. Engage your builder during this process, please, because the builder is the one that provides the preliminary budgets. Then they can refine that budget as the design develops so there are no surprises when you finally get to contract and your design's complete and the price has had the builder involved from start to finish, so there's not a surprise. We highly recommend this. It is something that we've started doing and it has provided immense value, that from the very first touch point all the way to the end, you're getting a budget range. And then at the end of the contract or end of design phase, we give you a full contract price that's in that range. And if it's not, we'll explain to you exactly why. And it's our job to have done a good job so that 8 months down the road, 3 months down the road, you're not asking yourself what the heck happened. Next one's the interior designer, if you're using one. They can work on finishes, materials, and selections during this process, and that you, the client, then can help make decisions constantly, or at least get started making decisions in a right direction. Maybe not specifics, but at least head in the right direction of what you like. They can help you with what your priorities are, what your trade-offs are, where you want to spend money, and also what you're not willing to compromise on so that your budgets get properly allocated and so you have the right expectations going forward. This pre-construction phase can take anywhere from 3 to 12 months. It can take longer for more complex projects, and I know that's a very broad range, but every builder does it differently, whether it's full custom, you're just changing up a plan, you already came with some selections. It varies. We always tell people 3 to 6 months for us, but there are other builders who do everything up front, and so it's a much longer process, which would be about 6 to 12 months. The people that move through this phase well, however, they tend to be organized about their decisions, they're honest about their budget and what they want to spend, and they're willing to make the calls that they need to make when they need to make them. The people who struggle in this phase, they tend to defer decisions, they second guess themselves, they don't give clear budgets and outlines to their partners in this, the architect, the builder, and designer, and then they let the design evolve without a clear framework for what they're trying to achieve. For some people, they don't care about the price. They just want you to be honest with them throughout it. Some people, the price is one of the most important things, so you have to have that framework in place. The habits that you develop in pre-construction are then going to carry into construction. So this, in my opinion, is where the tone of the entire project gets set. At the end of pre-construction, you should have a complete set of construction documents, a signed contract with a real, not surprised price, a full set of finishes and selections, and a clear timeline for construction. If any of those things aren't complete outside the finishes and selections, because you can kind of do that during the process, that's really up to you guys and what works best for you, you're setting yourselves up for problems later if they're not done. The temptation to start construction before pre-construction is really done is very real. Because as a client, you often feel like you've been waiting forever to progress and you want to see progress. And sometimes you think it should go a certain way when you really just need to trust your builder. But starting construction on an incomplete design, it almost always costs more. It almost always takes longer, and it creates so much more friction than the delay of finishing pre-construction properly would have. Then this next phase comes construction itself. This is the phase everyone thinks about, which is really only about half of the total project timeline. Construction typically takes anywhere from 10 to 18 months for a custom home. This really depends on scope, complexity, market conditions. Our contracts are 12 months, but I know that everybody's a little bit different. We always say 12 months. We know we can do that because of the pre-construction phase we require you to go through. Within the construction though, there are several distinct phases, and it's useful to understand them. The first is going to be your site work and your foundation. This includes clearing your lot, grading it properly, excavating if necessary, and then putting in the foundation. This phase looks slow from the outside because there's not much visible progress, but the site work really sets up everything that comes after. Good site work makes construction smoother. Bad site work can create problems that ripple through the entire project and can start you off with budget overages that nobody was expecting. The second phase we have is the sticks and bricks of the house, the framing if you call it, which is when the house actually starts to look and feel like a house. This is a phase where you can walk through it, you can get a sense of spaces for the first time, although I'll be honest, a framed house with no drywall for me always feels small, just like foundation on the ground and footings on the ground, your house always feels small. Warning for everybody out there, just saw a video about this yesterday. But this framing stage is often where clients realize a room they thought would feel one way may feel another, and where the design decisions can get revisited. This is completely normal. Sometimes it's a change order, and sometimes it's an honest conversation with your builder and your designer because there might be a better way to solve it. But bringing this up now is much better. It is much cheaper to make changes when the framing is up than it is when the drywall is up. So managing this carefully is the first real test of a good builder. Third phase is drying the house in. This means that your roof's on, your sheathing's up, the windows and doors are installed. Once the house is dried in, you can work inside without weather becoming a factor, and the pace of interior work picks up. The fourth phase is rough ends, which is when the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC are installed inside the walls. This is another phase that looks less dramatic from the outside, but it's critically important because everything that gets installed at this stage is going to be behind drywall for the life of the house, and getting it right matters enormously. It is much more costly to fix this or add things in this stage later in the build. So spend some time here, bring up any questions you have to your builder and designer. They can help you out. A good designer early on will have already taken care of it, but changes come up. Your house is gonna feel different, I promise. Even as a builder, I did this in my own house. The fifth phase is your drywall, insulation, and interior finishing. This is where your house truly starts to look finished. It's also, frankly, where the house starts to feel like it's moving a lot slower because getting to framing felt really fast. This is painting, trim work, cabinetry, tile, flooring, your plumbing fixtures, your light fixtures, and all the details that make your house look and feel like the home you've been dreaming about. This is, as I said, the longest and most detail-intensive phase of construction, and it's where a lot of the last-minute selection decisions can come home to roost. If you haven't picked your finishes by the time you get here, this is when you can end up under real time pressure to catch up. It's gonna add some extra stress. It is very natural, but you wanna try and do as much as you can ahead of time to avoid that pressure that could slow down your project at the end. The final phase is called finishes or punch, which is when the project is functionally complete. The team is going through your house, identifying anything that needs to be corrected before you move in. So this includes touch-ups on paint, adjustments to hardware, verifying everything works as it should, and completing any items that got pushed closer to the end. Punch is not glamorous, but it's important because it determines the final quality of the home the client actually receives. I also want to say this is the part of the build when if you start making changes, it is going to cost the most amount of money, it is going to waste the most amount of time. I know it doesn't feel like adding this small detail is going to add a lot of time, but orchestrating people to come into the house and have to get that area refinished, it can add weeks. Something that you think might take days, it can add weeks. Just be conscious of this. Your builder should have outlined this to you, but if not, hear it from me. It does happen often, and custom builders are happy to do it if it's truly what you want. You just have to understand that there's a time and cost implication here. So throughout construction, there's several things happening beyond just building as we've gone over. There's also inspections at every phase. There's draws from your construction lender, which involve their own inspection process. There are change orders that as the project evolves, their supplier deliveries have to be coordinated, and there are trades, which are real people that have to get scheduled and rescheduled based on progress, based on their availability, and based on their schedules and their timelines. It's not like consulting where you can just go hire someone and say, get it to me tomorrow and it's gonna be done. You have to schedule them and sometimes they don't show up because another project took longer. And to handle this, you have weekly and bi-weekly client meetings. Ideally, a good builder has more meetings than less, where the progress is reviewed and upcoming decisions are discussed. All of that coordination is what a good project manager and a good builder deliver. When it works really well, construction feels manageable and paced and calm and collected. When it doesn't, it feels utterly chaotic. It adds stress and frustration, and nobody wants that. After construction's complete, then there's the closeout phase that most people don't think about until they're actually in it. Closeout includes your final inspections, your certificate of occupancy from local jurisdictions. It also includes the final walkthrough with your client, which is the last chance you have to identify anything that needs to be addressed. It includes handing over all the documentation, all the warranties, all the manuals, and all the information that you as the homeowner need to actually live in the house. It also includes your final draw from your construction lender, and it can, if you choose, do a quick conversion to your permanent mortgage. It also includes the transition from your construction team to whatever ongoing relationship the builder has for warranty and service after move-in. The warranty period, which is typically 1 year, is worth mentioning specifically. Custom homes have systems and details that settle in the first year. Your wood moves, it breathes, heat, weather, expansion, and contraction, all those things happen. Systems get their first full seasonal test in the first year. Small items are identified as a homeowner actually lives in the space. This is going to happen, especially as you spend time sitting down in a room looking around that you wouldn't have before you finish construction and moved in. And so a good builder handles this warranty as a real part of the project. It's not an afterthought, and it's not something that, oh, my project's done, we'll get to it. A good builder has a system for this. The clients who feel the best about their builders in a year are the ones whose builder showed up during warranty as well as did during construction. And to all my builders out there, this is when you can make the biggest difference in your client experience. You can have botched the ending. I've done it before, and your warranty manager and the way you take care of your clients there can completely flip the script. Do not underestimate this stage. And this is what people don't fully appreciate about this process, because every phase depends on the phase before it. Bad decisions in alignment, they show up in pre-construction. Bad pre-construction shows up in your construction experience. Rushed construction shows up in poor closeout and a lot of warranty. The compounding effect of good work at each stage is enormous, and so is the compounding effect of shortcuts. A project that ends well almost always started well and was run consistently throughout. Projects that end badly almost always have a story about a phase that was rushed or not done, a decision that was deferred or not brought up, or a relationship that got strained early and never recovered. We've all been there. It happens. It's how you handle that and how you communicate after that that makes all the difference. So if you're working through your own project or thinking about starting one, the thing that I'd emphasize is that the process is long and it is detailed for a reason. Every phase exists because it's necessary. Skipping ahead does not save time. All it does is it creates problems later. The best clients that I've worked with are ones who understood that up front, and they gave the process the respect it deserved, and they stayed engaged and responsive throughout. They asked a lot of questions, but they understood and they listened to what we told them. They did not try to compress the timeline artificially. They did not defer decisions past when they were due, and they did not disappear during phases that felt less exciting. And their projects all came out well because of it. The fundamentals simply do not change no matter the scope or the segment. Alignment before engagement, complete pre-construction before breaking ground, detailed communicative construction through closeout, and real warranty support after move-in. If those 5 things happen well, custom building can be one of the most rewarding processes there is, both for the client and for the builder. If any of them are shortchanged, the entire experience gets harder for everyone. So whether you're a client thinking about starting or you're a builder trying to run a better operation, respect this process. It exists for good reasons, and I'm trying to help you prevent the lessons that I have learned the hard way. Because the projects that go well are the ones that honor it. So if this was helpful, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. If you're at any stage of your project and you've got a specific question about what to expect or how to handle something, drop it in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you.